Hello and welcome to Model Train Fun. Today we're going to talk about how to change the address of a locomotive using the Central Station tree. We're going to look at three cases: if it's a MFX locomotive, if it's a locomotive with a decoder that's the old Märklin format, so Märklin Motorola, or if it's a DCC locomotive. The MFX is easy because there's basically nothing to do, so I'll talk a little about why is there nothing to do. For the Märklin Motorola and for the DCC, what you need to do is you need to put it on the programming track of the Central Station tree. As you can see here, there's you can make two connections to the Central Station tree. One is to a regular layout and the other one is to your programming track. So I'll also show you how to do that. Enjoy the video. When you have MFX, there's really no need to change the address. Everything is handled automatically by the Märklin digital system. And what you will notice here is as soon as I go out of stop mode, then it will read all the information from the decoder. So this is the benefit of MFX. There's nothing really to do. So we just have to wait patiently while everything is added to the Central Station tree. Now we have it here, so let's go in and try and say edit locomotive, and let's go in and look at it. So if you look at it here, the interesting thing is it actually has an address in here. However, this is not the same as the normal Motorola address. You see, it's grayed out, it's special. So in MFX, you don't have to think about anything. You just have to pop it on the track and everything is maintained automatically. If you add a second MFX locomotive, you'll actually see it will get a different address here, but it's not an address range that conflicts with anything else. Do remember, in case where you pop the locomotive on the track or put the locomotive on the track and it doesn't do anything, then open the locomotive list here, hit edit. Oh, sorry, I was in edit mode. You hit edit here, and then you go to rediscover lost locomotives, and then it will actually go through a procedure where it goes out and find all possible locomotives. The cool thing about MFX is just put it on the track and it works. In order to change the address for Märklin Motorola or the DCC, hence, if I don't have MFX, I need to do that on the programming track. True, DCC actually does support programming on the layout as well. However, this is a little decoder dependent and so on, so I would recommend that you do it on the programming track. Now, what is the programming track? Well, the Central Station tree actually has two outputs on the back, one for the layout and one for the programming track. So notice here my Central Station tree is in stop mode. This is very important when you connect things to the Central Station tree. So if you look here below, you see here is my, where's my finger? Here's my finger. Here you see the power to the track that's connected. So that's the first one next to the power. Next to that, you see there's another little one here. It's actually a connector like the first one, but it says prog. So the prog is actually the programming track. So now what you can do is you could take the one from your layout and put over there, and then you can program. However, you need to make sure when you're doing programming on the programming track, it's the only one there. So it may or may not be a good idea. You can also connect a second set of tracks. So let me just I have a second set of track here. And I have a connector here. So I can basically plug that in here. And remember, only do this if you're in stop mode. Okay. So I put it in there and now it's in programming. And now I actually have two tracks connected to my Central Station tree. You see here. And then you can use the other track. So this is the track I just connected. You can use this as the programming track, and you can use this at the same time as it's connected to the layout. So the Central Station tree actually supports running both of them at the same time. If you have a locomotive that supports Märklin Motorola, sometimes called MM, sometimes called MM2 or FX, in order to change the address of the locomotive, the first thing you need to do is actually add the locomotive to the Central Station tree. So you can do that by going down here at the bottom. You can hit the plus sign here. You can pull up the red tab. You can go in and hit edit and then add locomotive. And then we get a locomotive in here. You choose a decoder type MM. And now you have to go in and set the address that you know it is. Maybe it's address 24. You have to set that one there. You can only change the address if you know the address of the locomotive. Now, what do you do if you don't know the address? Well, if it's a Märklin locomotive that's non-MFX, then you can actually click here on the database and then you can go search for it. So it could be that maybe this one here was a BR74. And then you could search for it, and then you can see the various non-MFX BR74s. You can also search for article number, so it could be that maybe it was maybe in the 30,000 range. So I'm just going to search for 3,000, and then you can see 30,000, 30,001, and so on. So I could select one of these here. So it could be that it was number 30,001, and then I hit OK. And then that actually gets loaded. Let me just cancel this because I actually didn't want that one. The final thing you can do if you don't know it is, let me just add the locomotive here. It's a Märklin Motorola. I can just say I don't know what it is. I don't click on the database. I don't give it an address. I hit OK here. Now we have it down here. And I would like to edit it, so I go into edit locomotives, and then when I go into it again, there's a new button that's called read, and this one will actually look through all the addresses in order to find it. So you hit read, and then it will go ahead and look for addresses, and you have to be patient here. Okay, do remember, for this to work, it has to be on the programming track. And you can see it actually found the locomotive here at address 78. When it's found the address, we can hit OK, and then we can drag the locomotive over, and then we can try the lights, and we see they work. Excellent. Now, how do I change the address of the locomotive? Well, you go in and edit the locomotive again. Do remember, if you're not in edit mode here, you hit the edit, you hit edit locos, you go back into it, and now you see it has address 78. So how do we change this to address 70, for example? Well, easily. You just click on this one, and then you put in 70 instead. You hit OK. You can see on the track that the locomotive is doing some blinking and so on. Please be very patient in this phase because you have to make sure that the programming is completely done. However, when you feel you are confident it's done, you can hit OK. And then now we can try the light again, and you can see lights on, and the light actually goes on, lights off, and it goes off. So we actually succeeded in changing the address. Yippee! What you have to realize though is that every decoder is special. So here you saw how a typical Märklin decoder, this is a more modern Märklin decoder, works, where it blinks with the lights. Not all decoders, whatever brand they are, work in exactly the same way or blink in the same way. But typically you would see the decoder blink when it gets programmed. However, there are some older ones that might not do anything. In that case, just wait. Now, how do I change the address for a DCC locomotive? Well, in order to change the address, there's two things. First, I need to have the locomotive in the Central Station tree with the currently known address, and I have to have it on the programming track. when we need to add the locomotive, remember I can go down here on the plus, I can hit edit, I can hit add locomotive. Now when it comes up, you see you have to choose a decoder type, you set it for DCC, and then you have to set the address. Now normally when a locomotive is shipped from the manufacturer, it's kind of a standard, it always comes as address 3. So address 3 might be good. However, if it has been changed, go ahead and put in the address that it has been changed to. You can also, let's just hit OK here. So now I have my locomotive down here. If I now go back into edit locomotives here, and then I look, then there's an extra button. So this one can actually read the current address of the locomotive. And do remember, it's important, it's on the programming track now. I hit read, and it starts reading the address. It says it was successful, and now you can see it has put in the address. Now changing the address, how do I do that? Well, it's easy. So let's just say I want to change it to 2010. What you will see now is it behind the scenes go ahead and does it. And each decoder has their own way of indicating whether or not it's currently being programmed. Some move a little back and forth, so you can hear something with the engine, some blink with the light. But you have to make sure that everything is okay. And it's done with the programming sequence. Then you can hit OK. We can drag the locomotive over here, and we can verify now that it's on address 2010 by turning the lights on. And you see the light turns on, and we can turn it off again, and you see the light turns off. So now we have changed the address of a DCC locomotive. Yes, that wasn't really that difficult. What you saw, if it was MFX, you don't need to think about it. Everything is automatic. When it's a Märklin Motorola or DCC, you need to make sure you use the programming track of the central station. And the programming track is the track that's wired to the second connector on the central station. And then after that, the only thing you really need to do in order to change the address is to make sure first that the central station knows the address of the locomotive, and then after that you can actually change it. And changing it is as simple as going in and just altering the address, and then you can then you have to wait till the programming occurs behind the scene, and that's actually that. One thing I did forget to say is if you get into some challenges and so on, don't forget to look at the Central Station 3 episode 4. I'll link to the description below. That one talk about adding locomotives to the Central Station 3. That's typically where you can get into challenges. Maybe it's not as easy to add as it is. Maybe some decoders behave differently. And that's the other thing we saw when we were doing the changing of address. We saw the example of this little steam engine I have here. Yes, it's actually a MFX locomotive, but I did turn off the MFX protocol to illustrate how it works with the Märklin Motorola. So this one here, for example, blinked when it changed the address. Then we had the other locomotive here, which is Rocco one, with a more modern decoder. That one didn't actually blink with the lights, but moved a little backwards and forwards. So all decoders are a little different. All decoders are a little special. And what works for one decoder may not work for another decoder. Generally, all the decoders follow the standard. And if that happens, then the Central Station 3 makes the job easy. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to the video. And I hope to see you in another video in the future. Enjoy!